Dear all, a very good evening to all of you. So we are commencing our session. At the very onset of our session, I wish you all good health. I hope you all are keeping it safe and sound during these tough times. I am Dr. Shriparna Samanta, today's moderator for your session. I am working as Scientific Relationship Managers with Balani Infotech. On behalf of JoVE and Balani Infotech, I welcome you all to our today's session entitled Education 4.0 Paradigm Shift in Hybrid Learning. For today's session, we have eminent speakers from across India and from JoVE team who all will be sharing their valuable views over the paradigm shift in the field of learning techniques, which we call nowadays hybrid learning. As higher education continues to evolve to meet new demands, hybrid models of learning which combine in-person and remote instructions are becoming increasingly popular. So, however, I will keep the rest of the topic for our speakers. That was just a short introduction. So, as a brief introduction of JoVE, JoVE is the world leading producer and provider of science videos with the mission to improve scientific research and education. Millions of scientists, educators, and students at thousands of universities, colleges, hospitals, and even in biopharmaceutical companies worldwide uses JoVE for their research, teaching, and learning purpose. And as a brief introduction for Balani Infotech Private Limited, along with its sister concern, iGroup Infotech Private Limited, is the leading electronic information service provider in Indian subcontinent. We are the exclusive marketing and channel partner for JoVE in India presently. Balani Infotech has more than 3 decades of experience in dealing with 40 plus global publishers, serving in different areas of knowledge and research. So now, without further ado, I would like to commence today's session, and I'm excited to announce that this session will be full of prizes for our participants, which are being sponsored by JoVE and Balani Infotech. There will be a lucky draw at the end of the session, and 3 lucky winners will be announced who will be awarded $50, $30, and $20 by JoVE. And there will be a quiz session at the end of this particular session where the winners will be awarded with a 2500 INR Amazon gift card from Balani Infotech's behalf. So please stay tuned with us for this informative and very rewarding session. Now moving ahead, I would like to invite Mr. Kailash Balani for his welcome note. Mr. Balani is a very well-known personality in this knowledge fraternity. Mr. Kailash Balani is currently the chairman and managing director of Balani Group, consisting of Aditya Books, Balani Infotech, iGroup Infotech India, and Global Music Institute. He has been in the publishing industry since 1974 and has worked with McGraw Hill, Wiley, and Buttersworth UK as their country manager for India from 1980 to 1986. Before starting his own company, Aditya Books, in 1987, his company deals in both print and online products in all subject areas like management, science and technology, agriculture and food science, social sciences, law and pharmacy, etc. And we cater to higher education as well. Mr. Balani loves traveling and has attended many national and international book fairs, participated in many conferences and seminars in India and abroad. Mr. Balani has served as the president of Federation of Publisher and Booksellers Association in India from 2010 to 2012. He is also the member of Publishing Committee of the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So, Mr. Kailash Balani, over to you, and I would like to welcome you for our welcome address.
Thank you, Sriparna, for such a nice introduction. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's very important webinar hosted by JoVE and Balani Infotech. It is a great moment for us to have very illustrious personalities with us as the speakers this afternoon, and it is my proud privilege to welcome you all. We have with us today Professor Kanjilal, who is currently the Pro Vice Chancellor of Indira Gandhi National Open University. She is very well known in India and perhaps abroad, and she is a very busy person. She heads many committees formed by various ministries, So very important in decision making and how university should move in terms of technology. Professor Shantanu Ganguly, Chief Librarian at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, is also very versatile, very known librarian in India. And he is also known to organize one of the finest conferences, international conferences and seminars in India. And one of the conferences that he organizes is International Conference on Digital Libraries, which is his brainchild amongst many other events that he organizes. So very well-known personality today. We have Dr. Maaike Pols, who is a scientific advisor at JoVE. We also have Mr. Stephen Altieri, Vice President Sales at JoVE. I'm looking forward to meeting these personalities, but due to COVID, people are not able to travel. We have, I can see Mr. Ibrahim Saluk, whom I know personally, and I met him a couple of times, but not recently due to COVID. And Dr. Maaike Pols, definitely I look forward to working with you in the future. And of course, Dharmendra, very well known in the publishing industry for many years. Dr. Sriparna Samanta, who is the moderator of the webinar, will introduce above speakers in detail later. Now, today's topic of the webinar, Education 4.0, Paradigm Shift in Hybrid Learning, is very apt and relevant to the way digital tools are creating shift in hybrid learning. Balani Infotech is proud to be associated with JoVE as their exclusive partner in India. JoVE is, of course, as Sriparna said, is a leading provider of science videos in the STEM areas and has over 13,000 videos across multiple disciplines. I don't think there's any other company which produces and delivers so many science videos. All their videos are peer reviewed and are indexed in PubMed and Web of Science. I think that's very important. Over 1,000 universities, colleges, and biopharma institutions across the world subscribe to JoVE videos for classroom learning and research. In India also, we have good number of institutions subscribing to JoVE videos, and the number is growing by the day. In view of the COVID pandemic, it has become all the more necessary for the educational institutions to invest in digital learning, and the science videos play a very important role to increase student engagement, and videos are good teachers too. Videos allow far more efficient processing and memory recall. Each student can learn on his or her own pace, and there are so many other benefits of learning from videos. I'm not going to dwell on that and would like to hear from today's speakers who are subject experts and well versed with the digital education. I think we all are eagerly waiting to hear our speakers, and I would stop here. Once again, I would like to thank all the speakers, participants for sparing their valuable time with us this afternoon. Our sincere thanks to Team JoVE and Team Balani for organizing this webinar, which is very well attended today. Thank you very much and all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kalasar, for your such a warm welcome to our panelists and our speakers. So now moving ahead, I would like to invite Stephen. So Stephen is a seasoned industry sales and marketing pro. Stephen has 10 plus years of experience in academic publishing. He joined JoVE in 2012 as an account manager and eventually sold into every one of the company's market. As he rose in the sales department, he envisioned ways to take the company into a dynamic future. He led the department from a 5-member internal sales team to a 30 plus combined integrated sales, marketing, and customer success group. In 2014, he personally launched the Asia Pacific Sales Office in Melbourne. He is an East Boston resident. In his spare time, you can find him on his bike or behind a book. So over to you, Stephen. Please take our virtual podium for your talk.
Right. Well, thank you very much for those kind words, and I'm going to hit them. I'm going to share my screen quickly for a few quick slides so that you all have something to take a look at. So, without further ado, let me know that you guys can see the slides that that I have there.
Yes.
Yes,
we
yes,
can
your
see.
slide is visible. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, first, coming to you from Boston this morning, I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity, and I wanted to express also my sincerest hope that everyone on this call is staying safe and that your families are healthy and you're going to get through this latest crisis quickly. The last year and a half or so has been a challenge for everyone. And, you know, while the crisis has been a challenge, it's also taught us some things. So as you present today, I kind of want to keep some of that in mind of what we've learned, and again, where we see things shifting. So talking about, again, video in the classroom and how that applies to hybrid learning, I wanted to make a simple introduction. And I'll also just let you know, despite the kind words, the one thing you wouldn't have heard in that that very nice introduction is that I am not a scientist, so I will leave it to the experts as well to kind of give you more of it. But what I could give you the perspective on is where this company is coming from, and I think where we might be a fit in particular for the Indian market that'll make it interesting to you. So, without further ado, who am I and why am I talking to you this morning? So, I did join JoVE in 2012 as an account manager, and it only means that means that that's given me 9 years to see this company and to see this product to grow up. So I've really had the opportunity to see it start and grow and develop into something that's a little different than the company I walked into. A little different, a lot different than the company that I walked into in 2012, which at that time was very simply a very niche publication just for research scientists, and lived and died on kind of our PubMed indexing. So I present of where JoVE is now is more of a full life cycle product for anyone in their entire experience, from being a undergraduate or even earlier students, being introduced to the very basic concepts of biology and related sciences in our core titles. You know, perhaps moving up as a middle ranked student, using some of the science education material to help put together labs, and then as a graduate student, and then as a researcher or professor themselves, they would use some of the articles that we have in the journal to specify or to kind of move their research forward. I want to talk a little bit about why I think the current incarnation of JoVE, with this kind of full spectrum scientific material, is really perfect for the Indian market. There is no product out there that's going to allow professors to do more with less and bring their students further faster. And then finally, was selected for the panel. I have a 1-year-old daughter, and she has me up now anyways. So I was an easy guy to add to this. So again, you know, my co-panelists here have spoken quickly about like what JoVE is, but I want to try and illustrate that for you. So what is JoVE? Really, to me, the way to explain it is that there's just a very simple insight here, that visualizing something is easier than reading it, right? I have a very easy 1-2 punch here. This text article, and once sodium azide has evaporated, line up the animal's desired imaging setup, move the animals side by side, interior, posterior sides, same orientation for all animals, image. Look, English is my first language and I don't understand that. But you know, you can take a quick look, and on this other side where we have this still from one of our journal videos, you can see pretty easily that once you see it visualized, and imagine that this is also a moving clip, makes it really easy to see. Now, all of that's understanding, you understand it better, but to kind of bring that to its rational extreme, what this means is with that text article, your scientists may not be able to repeat the experiment that they read even in a reputable peer-reviewed journal. But we believe strongly with video, you get it right the first time. What that means is saving time and saving resources. And at the end of the day, that's all JoVE is. Take this simple insight that it's easier to watch and easier to replicate or learn than it is to read this rather dense material that we all need to master to become, to advance ourselves in biology. So again, that's JoVE. We create scientific videos. We make teaching, learning, and practicing science more efficient, effective, and engaging. It's as simple as that and as complicated as that. So again, just talking a little bit about how the product began, and you'll hear more about this when my colleague Maaike goes through, the real roots of the company. But essentially, the bread and butter and the kernel of what JoVE started out as was to make these video versions of a traditional academic article so that people on the cutting edge of science could more quickly master those techniques, and they wouldn't get caught up in the vagaries that text introduces. And we became initially very popular because that type of video finds its way to its audience, but that audience is very, very small. So what I've seen the company do over time is that we've taken that, again, that very simple insight that it's hard to learn this stuff from text alone, and we've progressively applied it to more and more basic building blocks of the biological sciences. So if we introduced the JoVE journal around 2006, 2007, we introduced our science education catalog in around 2013 and expanded that up until about 2020. And that incorporates, rather than the individual, full spectrum article, that kind of incorporates the basic lab techniques that you'll need to do different things in science. And then finally, we added our JoVE Core product, which is the equivalent of a textbook, and allows you to use this with an undergraduate student, and that's been the real breakout star as we've all been forced to learn about remote learning. And then one other thing I'm particularly proud of is we have a very, very talented CS team, many of whom work out of our India office, which is centered in Mumbai, but we have people in Delhi and Hyderabad as well, and some other people scattered around the country. And what these PhDs actually do is they work with our customers to specifically map, any of our 1,300 videos into their syllabus, making custom playlists, custom curriculum maps, which again, accelerate research and science and learning. So the way you want to think about where JoVE is today is as a video platform, supports an array of instruction and research needs. In the context of hybrid learning, we want to talk mostly about education, but it's also an important product for training and research, which any of you, working in the institution know that you need to be able to get that full spectrum. But specifically our education topics are going to be curriculum-focused multimedia. Very important, like I said, with that CS team based in India, embeds easily to online courses. Again, this is something that we had to kind of learn on the fly a lot last year. We'd done some of this before the pandemic forced our hand, but what we found was that the pandemic kind of really forced professors worldwide to experiment with remote learning more so than they had been. And that allows, the video allows them to do more with less, right? And it kind of moves them forward faster. And one of the things I would say too is it really supports that flipped classroom environment. And now as we will start to see a lot of classrooms getting back to the class, they don't want to learn, they don't want to lose what's been learned in remote education. And that's that these videos will allow them actually not only to have a component that the students can use on their own time and use at off hours to be prepared for class. That also opens up that precious class period for higher value training, and they take the class further. Quick story for you. The last campus visit I got an opportunity to do, before we went into lockdown here in the U.S., was at the University of Illinois Chicago, which is a heavily integrated in terms of our content in a lot of their biology and chemistry courses. So I got the opportunity to speak with the chemistry professor who taught their Chem 101 class, and the particular population of students he was training were first generation college students who were either taking the class as a prerequisite, or they were taking it with kind of the hope of maybe getting a testing job at an industrial lab. Integrating the JoVE videos in there, his takeaway was, what's great about this is it quickly brought up the baseline performance in his class. But not only that, in a 14-week class period, he was able to introduce his students to more stuff. And the upshot is that several students told him at the end of the class that because they got introduced to more topics, and they got with the JoVE research videos that are also integrated into the classroom environment, that they got the opportunity to see what this looked in the lab, they were going to move themselves on to the next division of chemistry that they weren't planning on taking. And he netted a couple of majors, which to me was really great feedback. And then final slide I just wanted to hit on here was we also, not just consensus, we'll put an independently peer-reviewed article behind our claims. So back in, I think it was 2018 or early 2019, we had a professor, Dr. Roshi Ramachandran at the University of California, Los Angeles. She contacted us about doing it, but she was not contracted by us. She independently integrated some of the JoVE science education videos into a previously established lecture class. And you can see the results here. 96% of students reported better concept comprehension. 50% students' engagement and learning outcomes improved by over 50% versus their peers who didn't use video. Facilitated success in flipped in-person hybrid virtual classrooms, and enabled sequential learning without using in-class time, right? So this is, kind of written proof that the integration of videos and humbly our videos into the classroom environment is something that is going to be able to get your students, ahead of the curve and performing better than they would otherwise. And then I'll leave you with one last thought before I pass it on to the next panelist. And that is that I've gotten the chance to work with this product around the world. I've been very fortunate. We have a book of business that includes a lot of countries in emerging markets, the developing world, the Western world, wherever. And I've also had the opportunity to work with some very wonderful Indian colleagues, as mentioned before. And I wanted to humbly suggest that this really is the perfect product for the Indian university. And why I think that is that there's no doubt that India is rich in human resources. The number of graduating scientists, the number of PhDs produced surpasses almost anywhere in the world. But you do need to compete with your colleagues and your peers in the West who may not have any better human resources, but they have sometimes more money to apply to each student, or they have more money to apply to each experiment. What JoVE will do on both the end of your classroom and in your laboratories is it's going to allow you to get more out of every dollar you spend in education or in the lab, and it's going to bring you up to parity much more quickly. And it's going to obviate the need for you to have to travel to learn new techniques. So that's my take. I want to, again, thank you for your time. You have a great panel ahead of you, and I will hold any questions for the end of the session. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to a long and good relationship with the Balani Group and JoVE in India.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for your valuable insights, very useful insights regarding JoVE. I really wish during my PhD times, if my lab has the access for JoVE, so at many times when my seniors or my supervisors were not there, it would have been much more easier for us to look to the experiments and replicate them. Because during your research, all it comes down to the time frame, how quickly you can learn some of the new experiments and how quickly you can replicate and get the results. So yes, JoVE is in that terms is an ideal product for many of the Indian universities where they have many number of PhD students and researchers. So definitely we are looking forward for the open market here in India as well. So now moving ahead to our next speaker, we have Professor Uma Kanjilal with us. She is pro VC right now with IGNOU. Currently, she is professor and head in the Faculty of Library and Information Sciences in the Indira Gandhi National Open University. She has more than 31 years of experience in the open and distance learning system. Professor Kanjilal is one of the national coordinators of Swayam India MOOCs and Swayam Prabha of the Ministry of Human Resource Development. She was principal investigator of IGNOU for the National Virtual Library of India, project of Ministry of Culture. Her specialization includes e-learning, multimedia courseware development, ICT applications in library and digital libraries. She earlier also served as Director of Center for Online Education, University Librarian, Director of School of Social Sciences, Director Advanced Center for Information and Innovative Learning in the University and Directorate IGNOU. So she was a Fulbright Scholar in University of Illinois and Urbana Champion in 1999-2000, where she worked on multimedia courseware development. So Uma ma'am, I would like to invite you and would ask you to take our virtual podium for your talk.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sriparna, for this introduction. Just give me a moment, I'll share my screen. So it's visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
So at the outset, I'd like to thank JoVE and Balani Infotech for inviting me to for the keynote address and this JoVE India webinar. It has been a pleasure. It will be I mean, it's a pleasure to be with you all. In fact, talking about education 4.0, and in fact, the topic of the webinar was around education 4.0, but I will be talking beyond that because now already we have started talking about education 5.0 also. So that's where we need to look into how we are developing over the years. And Stephen has been talking about videos that are being used. And in fact, in a mass scale, we are also developing videos, whether we talk about SWAM, that is the India MOOCs program, and the SWAM Prabha. And mapping is a major challenge, how we put them across. But I think when we talk about education 4.0, it goes beyond that, perhaps. So if you see the exponential growth of the technology that has been happening over the years, we had in 1970s talking about mainframe computers, and now we have just moved on talking about AI, IQ, all those technologies that are available. And in fact, if you see the kind of innovations that are happening, we talked about in the industry 1.0 about uh, bodies of machines, so more concentration on the machine, how it works and all. But if you move on to industry 4.0, or even we talk about industry 5.0, that's more on the hearts of the machine. So that's something that needs to be looked into. So if we talk about industry 4.0, what is this exactly, and over the years, how it developed from the different generation. 1.0 more focused on mechanization, steam power, water power. The next stage, that is 2.0, was more on mass production, assembly line, electricity. 3.0 was computer and automation. And in fact, in the context of teaching and learning, perhaps that's the time when we started talking about e-learning, online education, etc. So then 4.0 is a big change when we talked about cyber physical systems that are there. And 5.0, if we to see, is it's a complete changeover where we have started talking about cognitive systems. So basically, if you relate the industry 4.0 and compare it with the society that we are living in fact, so that has happened. I mean, the big change has happened. If even we have in the industry, the robots actually taking over most of the tasks. And the major challenge is, if we talk about robotics in terms of education, how it looks like, how it will be, and what is the implications that we need to look into. Talking about industry 4.0 and 5.0, I think the main crux is that in industry 4.0, we were talking about technologies and concepts of active chain, value chain organization, covering major two aspects, that is the internet of things and the internet of services. So the basically, when we talk about internet of things, it's more about interconnections via the internet of computing devices, embedded and in everyday objects that we are using, in fact. And in fact, that helps in connecting and exchanging data. Internet of services is more towards application of available software applications that are available as a service on the internet. So basically, we are talking, it's when we talk about the software application, it's about the software, it's about the development of the software and the platforms that we use. The changeover to industry 5.0 is more towards personalization. So basically, it's actually talks about man and machine interaction. And in fact, I mean, cognitive skills of workers and the precise technical skills of robots interconnect to provide the services that we have. In fact, if we see related to the society 4.0, we have something even narrative sciences where the machines are doing automation of most of the activities, even when we talk about authoring and editing. So that's somewhere I think we have been talking about transcripting, we have been talking about translation tools, but it's also talking about creating and authoring a complete journal article. Maybe you just put in a keyword and it will author for you, give the parameters that are there. So that's something interesting we need to look into. Now, in the education point of view, if we look into, we need to look into four aspects. First is the what it is exactly. So, and over the period that it developed, when we talk about education 1.0, it was more focused on downloading content and all. 2.0 talked about open access. In 3.0, we have knowledge producing education, I think, where this JoVE's production of videos and all figure in fact. And the innovation bringing in the 4.0. From the technology point of view, we have, classroom has changed over, and we talk about now virtual platforms. We talk about in fact, e-learning or whatever it is. But basically, if you see, it has been growing slowly, and especially in case of India. But over the years, there are a lot of changes happened, in fact, and cautiously we have been adopting the open access technologies, integrating with our digital learning content also as well in the form of OERs and all. And everywhere digital natives, I mean, the technology, it's for the digital natives who are there, and born digital content that is getting generated. uh, from the point of innovation, it's always changing with the direct input of learners acting as a major player. So basically, if you look into from the point of view of teachers, I mean, how they are moving on from right from actually teacher to student connect. And now if we look into 4.0, it talks about amplified positive innovation feedback loops. So which is actually creating, the teacher is available 24/7. And in fact, this is something which is a challenge also for the faculty. Talking about the place of the institution that is there, it started with brick and mortar, and now we are talking about virtual space. And it's not just institutionalized, more towards your actually virtual space and interconnecting societies that are there. The major trends, if you look into the, and some of the technologies that we talk about when we talk, take into consideration education 4.0, mainly people talk about artificial intelligence in education, virtual reality or virtual worlds, and Internet of Things and blockchain technology. And these are some of the things that I will be covering, and how, in fact, they have already invaded in the teaching learning processes that we are following. When we talk about artificial intelligence in education, I think most of the MOOCs platform we have, they have these features inbuilt, in fact. So it talks about actually, I mean, intelligent tutoring systems, personalized learning, AI tutor, teaching assistant, adaptive learning approaches, natural language processing, chatbots or conversational AI, big data in education, educational data mining, etc. And if you see, most of the platforms at present that we have, whether we talk about a learning management system or a MOOCs platform, these features to some extent are available, but I think we need to take it beyond what is available. So it has to be more AI based application, where actually it can help to a great extent in teaching learning processes. Talking about virtual reality, already we started talking about augmented reality, and there are examples. Like we talk about Second Life. In fact, it's a virtual world where you can walk in, you have avatars and all. So this is something that is very interesting and which can be used for the purpose of teaching learning also. So people are realizing, and a lot of platforms are being created in that format. Then we have virtual labs. In fact, in India also, we have IIT Delhi under the NMAICT project developed virtual labs, which were actually not only just, I mean, simulation based, it was even remote triggered experiments can be conducted. I think what needs to be done is it needs to be scaled up so that it can actually cover the curriculum across levels, across disciplines. So this is something that already development has started, but I think next generation of it needs to be thought of. Robotics to a great extent is being used. In fact, when I was mentioning about education 5.0, I think it's more of robots who will, in fact, in future will be used for the purpose. It could be even for evaluation of the or assessment of your examination, whatever it is. I think that's something is already being experimented, and we have some success stories also available. Internet of Things also to some extent are being used, and in fact we need to realize the importance of it in the education sector. It can actually bring your bring in interactive learning, and it could be used for the purpose of security or for many any other educational apps, like some 3D graphics, textbook, educational games that are there. So internet of things are being used for the purpose of actually taking attendance and other things, track the learners where they are, what they're doing. And this is, some experiments have been done and found to be very successful, in fact. The fourth one that I would be elaborating on is the blockchain technology. I think we have started realizing the fact that blockchain can be used for the purpose of education as well. So it could be just for the simple record keeping purposes, or could be of maintaining data about the registration of the learners or something like that, or even the fee payment in a way of a seamless payment transaction can be done. But what is of interest is, I think, how best we can take blockchain technology. Like we in India, we have the new education policy, talks about academic bank of credits, and activities are on to develop that. So in that, if we bring in the blockchain technology, I think it could be of a great help. From the education 5.0, I think, point of view, if you see, it's more of interaction of man and machine. And when we talk about interaction of man and machine, the first and foremost thing is the AI. So the learner analytics that come, the big data in learning, that's of great importance. It's not just for the skill gap analysis, it can be taken beyond that for the purpose of, in fact, personalization of the content. So in fact, it should not be like, in future we will be seeing perhaps the courses developed in a manner and delivered in a manner that we have customized, personalized offerings for each and every learner. Because and especially, in fact, in IGNOU, in the university, we have 3.5 million learners, and in fact we need customized learning for them. Then it becomes a big challenge, I think, where the AI can play a great role. And from the point of view of the cognitive computing, I think collaborative robots are already, being implemented to doing the mundane jobs such as marking written assignments and examinations. But but a lot of, challenges are there. At the moment, we don't have perfect applications that can do the job, but and replacing the teacher that is there. And the teachers also have apprehension that if the robot takes over the task of assessment, what will be the future of the faculty? So these are some of the challenges out there. So when we talk about AI, in fact, in education, I think what we need to look into is the big data analytics. Already I mentioned about it. And when I say analytics, it's more from the point of view of learner analytics, machine learning, natural language processing, data visualization, decision logic. I think that's how we are moving, and a lot of emphasis on AI is being put in. So in the term of big data in education, I think it brings in meaningful insight, whether we talk about students, instructors, programs, or institutions that are there. And it provides, in fact, real-time data in the form of dashboards. It could be statistical analysis, it could be data modeling, data mining, machine learning, all of the, and in fact, we have been talking about that, and it's getting implemented to a great extent. From the point of transforming the education, actually, uh, grades, outcomes, evidence, lifelong learning. So this can actually be based on the data, big data in education that is there. But the most important part is the personalization of learning. So personalization of the learning content in the form of whether it is a self-learning material or the learning videos that are there as per the learners, I mean, skill available that can be provided. In fact, when we talk about big data, it also has to be related from the point of view of the learning. We talk about linked data, uh, and in fact, curriculum design based on student profile, real-time usage, course feedback, transcript analysis, and staff skills, where actually big data can play a big role. in fact. And then it can be used for just-in-time interventions using analysis of online engagement, how much a learner is, how much time a learner is spending. You have through the clicks, what are the activities they're doing, capturing that. Also, the learning style can be picked up, in fact. Already I mentioned about personalization, and it could be based on demographic details and previous study history. So when we talk about previous study history, how they have been doing, whatever has been captured, and their learning styles can be considered, in fact. Multimedia indexing to detect the use of common images. So this is something very important. Already, I mean, Stephen was mentioning about indexing part of it, and content that is being mapped for different levels and different disciplines across. I think the best feedback you can get from the big data using big data is you get to know, in fact, I mean, usefulness of the videos that are being used, and that can be, I mean, actually, and if there are any issues or any problem, people are not, the videos are not getting popular. So you need to actually find where the problem lies and maybe revise or reissue the videos. Another important thing is when we talk about big data and learning, it's not just platform based. I think we need to capture data that comes from different platforms, social media in a big way we use, and a lot of, I mean, in fact, if you look into the learning management systems, or if you look into the, I mean, any, even a MOOCs platform that is there, social media gets integrated, whether we talk about the teaching learning process, we talk about the assessment part and all. People are using, experimenting in a great way. Talking about the augmented reality, as I mentioned, Second Life, like kind of a platform needs to be developed, and that can bring in immersive and augmented learning, in fact. So similar pattern platforms can be developed, and in fact, this can bring in, I mean, the concept of virtual campuses or universities, colleges, libraries, all in virtual world. At the moment, when we talk about virtual campus or a virtual library, it's basically what we are doing online. It's not exactly the virtual campuses that we talk about. It's something beyond that. And in fact, these are some of the interesting activities you can do on a platform, augmented reality platform like Second Life. You can create your identity, teach, and do the teaching, mentoring job, creating social networks, working on different projects. I mean, collaborative projects can be taken up, role play. Like you can take in avatar and just walk in, and I mean, create your own avatar, walk in, and you are part of the community that is there on the Second Life. You can embed learning games, blended reality, exploration build, and I mean, all sorts of things can be done. So it's a perfect platform. I think similar platforms need to be developed, I mean, for the teaching learning purposes also. So basically, there are a number of tools when we talk about AR and VR in education. We have Google Cardboard, 360 Cities, and all those things. I mean, Time Looper, or the number of apps are there. And there are tools for the teachers also to create I mean, virtual reality applications, or a lesson. They can plan a lesson based on AR, VR. Now, coming to Internet of Things, I think when we talk about Internet of Things, it's basically the network of several devices attached. So how you can use the different devices that are being used, and you capture the data from there, which can be related to actually, I mean, to the complete learning process or a learning life cycle of a learner. That's very important. And that's where how we need to work on, in fact. Then I mean, it's not just connecting, it's the data capture that is happening, and the information that is culled out from different devices, which can be related for the purpose. uh, in fact, in many of the science experiments, people have wearable devices, they go and collect data on the field. So these kind of things can be done for many of the courses that we offer. So it can be used for different purposes. Already I mentioned about that. It could be used for the purpose of tracking a learner. It could be for creating 3D based textbooks or educational games that are there. Now, coming to the fourth aspect, that is blockchain that can be used, and some experiment have been done in case, in the use, and a lot of people are experimenting, and it's becoming, in fact, integral part of the teaching learning process, especially when we talk about online learning. So, in fact, UK Open University, they have been using badging certification uh, and using the blockchain technology to create a trusted ledger. So this is how, a very good example could be, we have small credit based courses. One can go through a course, earn credits and get accumulated. I think similar line, even Government of India is thinking about the academic bank of credits, where I think blockchain technology can play a great role. So this is one area that needs to be explored. Already people are experimenting for small skill-based courses. I think we need to think bigger and try best to integrate all aspects that are there and at all levels that can be integrated. So how actually the blockchain in education works? Basically, if you see that we have a student in the middle, and in fact, they are doing number of activities. It could be a teacher giving a classroom. It could be online resources they are referring to, or the courses that are there. They are doing some collaborative activities, like they are doing some experiments and other things, or maybe writing a project, or and this all gets collated in one place. And finally, if you have the certification that is there, and this can be certificates can be actually accredited and validated by some agency, and then it gets actually in a securely verifiable store. It can be stored, in fact, so which can be used in future by the employers or by any agency to actually. And in fact, in India, we are talking about uh, transfer of credits using our MOOC courses or SWAYAM courses. So how best we can actually uh, transfer these credits towards a degree. So there, I think blockchain technology can play a great role. So before I conclude, what I would like to say is that, in fact, if you look into the National Education Policy 2020 of India, there have been a recommendation and which already started talking about education 4.0. So whether if you look into it, clearly says the section 23.8, it says that this policy has been formulated at a time when an unquestionable disruptive technology, artificial intelligence, 3D, 7D, virtual reality has emerged. As the cost of AI-based predictions falls, AI will be able to match or outperform and therefore be a vulnerable aid to even skilled professionals such as doctors in certain predictive tasks. So basically, they're saying that AI's disruptive potential in the workplace is clear, and same thing needs to be replicated for the education purposes. So this is a recommendation coming from the new national education policy of India, and in fact, already deliberations are on in implementing this. So as a concluding remarks, I would like to say that Education 4.0 has opened up a lot of opportunities. I think, and we can have innovative services developed across our online or virtual classes that we are creating and reach out to our learners. It could be actually beyond what we have been doing. And in fact, it can be very helpful for the learners because it can captures the complete learning styles of the learners. But the challenge is the implementation, because for this you will be needing new competencies. The institutions need to have strategic repositioning done in place, because a lot of technology we are talking about. And when we talk about technology, I think the major requirement is the infrastructure. But with the fund constraint, how much we can take up, that becomes a challenge. So this is how I think we need to think in terms of how we can embed the education 4.0, or even we can talk about education 5.0, that can be integrated with the teaching learning processes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Uma ma'am. Like it was great to know what actually 4.0 is. It's basically the innovations that are taking place in terms of perspective of learning as well as teaching. So, and how the AI, IQ, big data is taking the place of previous our learning processes, and augmented learning, the thing that you told, a person can take the avatar and he can do, it's sort of a video game and very interesting thing that I got to know. And thank you so much for your inputs and talking beyond 4.0. So yes, we are looking forward some of the questions if we got for you at the end of the sessions. Please stay with us for the session. So now I would like to invite Dr. Maaike Pols she is scientific advisor with JoVE. She has obtained her PhD degree in cell biology in 2012. She was involved in teaching and research on lysosome biogenesis. She did a postdoc at the University of Queensland, where she worked on zebrafish muscle development, and then moved to London to work as an editor for F1000 Research before joining JoVE in 2017. We are very happy that we have you today here with us on board. We are really looking forward to listen to your talk. Dr. Maaike.
All right, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Let me bring up my PowerPoint. So welcome everybody, my name is Maaike Pols. I am JoVE's scientific advisor, and today I would like to walk you through what is JoVE in even more detail than my colleague Steve already shared with you. Also walk you through how to best access our videos, both when you're off campus as well as on campus. And then let's take a deeper dive into some of the products, both for research, but mostly for education. And then I'll share with you some examples of how JoVE can be used both in the classroom as well as the remote online classroom, and how JoVE has helped people prepare for lab courses as well as being useful in the lab. And then I'll also share quickly with you some information about publishing in JoVE, as well as the faculty support that we have available to help you make the best use of the JoVE content in your classroom. All right, so let's first cover how JoVE got started, because that is actually a very nice story. So JoVE got started back in 2006 when our CEO and co-founder Moshe Pritzker was a PhD student himself. So he was doing his PhD at Princeton University and was trying to learn this new experiment that he read about in a science journal. Now, his experiment had to do with the creation of a certain type of stem cell, and it turned out to be much more difficult than he thought. And much as Moshe tried, he couldn't quite get this experiment to work. And sadly, he had nobody in the lab who could teach him how to do it properly. So the solution for Moshe was to send him all the way from New Jersey to Edinburgh, Scotland, to learn how to do this one experiment in the original author's lab. This was a really great experience, of course, but it also took 2 months of travel and a lot of money for travel expenses and reagents. So Moshe started thinking of different ways to share this crucial information with other scientists. So after his PhD, he put down his pipette and he picked up a video camera instead and decided to start the world's first science video journal. And so what Moshe was doing was not just writing scientific methods up in a paper, but actually going to these people's labs and film how they perform the experiment so that other people can quickly learn this new technique. Now, JoVE today is a rapidly growing video library. We have over 13,000 videos in our library, and we're adding more every week. On average, we publish around 1,200 new videos each year, most of them in our 13 different journal sections. Worldwide, well over 1,000 institutes, schools, and companies already subscribe to JoVE, and we have well over 8 million unique users. Our videos are accessible 24/7, which is great for your students because even when you're not available to teach them at the time, they can already get started preparing for their lab courses by using these videos. For all of our educational content, we are also adding language translations to make it easier for students from different linguistic backgrounds to find a video in a language that they're most comfortable with. We also have well over 10,000 downloadable protocols that scientists and students can bring with them into the laboratory. And our videos are compatible with most digital learning platforms to make it easier to fully integrate the videos into your courses. Now, what is JoVE in terms of products? JoVE creates scientific videos for 5 unique resources, and these are aimed at helping with education, laboratory and field training, and research. On the education side of JoVE, we have 3 products that I'd like to highlight. The first one is JoVE Core, which is our series of animated video textbooks where we teach foundational concepts through high-impact animations and real-life lab experimentation. The next product is JoVE Lab Manual. And here we find sets of experiments that you can do for introductory biology courses and introductory chemistry courses. For each of these experiments, we look at every experiment from 3 perspectives. We have a concept video explaining the background of each experiment. Then we have an instructor preparation video that shows you, as the instructor, exactly what you need to prepare before your students come to the lab. And then we have a student protocol video that takes the students through the experiment step by step. Then the next education product is JoVE Science Education. And this is a lovely crossover between educational videos as well as lab training videos. So these videos can both be used by students of all levels, as well as PhD students or postdocs or scientists who want to start learning experiments maybe from a different field. Now, as a scientist myself, I had really wished I had access to these videos when I was switching from a PhD in cell biology to a postdoc in developmental biology, because I had to finish working with human cell lines and then start working with zebrafish embryos instead. Now, by having these easy to understand video demonstrations to show you exactly how to set up and carry out each experiment, that makes that learning curve go a whole lot quicker. Then on the research side of JoVE, we have 2 more products. We have JoVE's Video Journal, where we publish method articles from authors all around the world. And this is the world's first peer-reviewed video journal. So instead of just publishing a paper version of the method article with a detailed protocol, we also go to these people's labs and we film how they performed the experiment in their own lab. Then this video, combined with the paper version of the article, are published together on the JoVE Journal website. And then the next product and final product, which is our latest addition to the JoVE family, is JoVE's Encyclopedia of Experiments. And here we have collections of experimental techniques that are summarized in short videos that are specific for working with model organisms, such as Drosophila C. elegans and zebrafish, or cancer research models, such as models for breast cancer, lung cancer, and leukemia. Now, accessing JoVE videos is pretty straightforward. If your school already subscribes to JoVE, you can use IP recognition when you're on campus, which means if you go to the jove.com website, the videos within your subscription will automatically play. If you're off campus, we use a couple of different ways to verify your access. The first one is through email domain authentication, meaning if you set up a JoVE account with your institutional email address, we can automatically link you to your school's subscription. We can also work with single sign-ons such as OpenAthens and Shibboleth, or set up easy proxy for your school. The easiest way for teachers to share videos with their off-campus students, however, is via embedding them into a learning management system. We are compatible with most systems out there, and this makes it really easy for your students to get access to the full video without needing to sign in. Now, accessing videos through a JoVE account has a couple of additional benefits. So even if you're mostly working on campus, setting up a JoVE account has its benefits. You can set up a JoVE account from the jove.com website by going to the Sign In button and select Create an Account. With your JoVE account, you can easily check your JoVE access, so you can easily see what your school already subscribes to. You can watch the videos from wherever you are in the world. And you can create embed codes to share the videos with off-campus colleagues and students. Your JoVE account also allows you to create playlists of your favorite videos and also assemble playlists for example, your courses or your lab training. If you are an instructor, your JoVE account also allows you to make use of the JoVE quiz feature, where you can set up short multiple choice quizzes for your students that belong to a specific video. Then how are the JoVE education products used in the classroom, both on campus as well as remote? So let's have a look at our 3 education products. The first one, JoVE Core, or a series of animated video textbooks, are really easy to use because they have short animated videos that clarify specific concepts. JoVE Core can be used as a textbook, which means you can use it for in-class lectures. The videos are kept short and concise, so they don't take up too much of your lecture time. They can also be streamed via Zoom or Microsoft Teams, so they can also be used for online lectures. And furthermore, since it is a video textbook, you can also use these videos to set them as homework for your students. So instead of digging through a thick biology or chemistry textbook, your students can watch a couple of the videos and gain a better understanding of scientific principles. Then the next product, JoVE Lab Manual, are sets of experiments you can do with your students. These experiments also contain a concept video, which can easily be used for your lectures or online lectures. And then the student protocol video is really great for the students when they come to the lab to perform the experiment. However, during this pandemic, many of our students have not been able to come to the lab or even to the university campus. And in that case, the JoVE protocol videos from the student protocol have really been a useful source of information for those students who do want to see all the different steps of the experiment and what results they could have expected. Then JoVE Science Education. These videos are really ideal when you're wanting to look up how to perform a certain experiment. They can also be used for online teaching, and they can be used both in the lab and in the field. We've also got science education experiments that are useful guides for those students who have to start working with patients and performing physical examinations. And we even got an elaborate collection of coronavirus protocols for those students and scientists who have to start working with patients with coronavirus or in coronavirus laboratories. Then let's take a deeper dive into the products, and you can have a look at what they will actually look like. First, JoVE Core. So this is our series of video textbooks that can either serve as a primary or as a supplementary teaching resource. JoVE Core is available in 4 different textbooks at the moment. We have a biology textbook, a chemistry textbook, a molecular biology textbook, and a social psychology textbook. Each of these textbooks are mapped to existing textbooks in the field. For example, JoVE Core Biology is mapped to the same chapter structure as Campbell's Biology. You can find a full overview of all these textbook mappings on the jove.com website. In each of the textbooks, we use a combination of high-impact animations to really clarify certain concepts, with scientists in action videos that show the students how the concepts of each of the chapters are applied by scientists in the lab. Now, this is an example from our JoVE Core Social Psychology textbook, which uses 3D animations to capture the human interactions that are so important in studying social psychology. This textbook also has a very useful chapter on research methods that I'd like to highlight, as this covers the basics of science, such as how to set up case studies or observational studies, as well as how to analyze data using basic statistics. Then inside the JoVE chapters from JoVE Core, you will find various lessons. The number of lessons varies slightly per chapter, and they depend on how broadly the chapter was set up. In each of the lessons, you will find a video, some accompanying text, as well as a short multiple choice quiz that you can do with your students. In each chapter, you also find a scientist in action section, and here we apply the concepts of this chapter, in this case about DNA replication, and we show you how scientists in real-life laboratories around the world are using this in their research. Then on the video pages, we'll find a couple of helpful features both for instructors and students. From an instructor perspective, we offer full transcripts for all of these videos. So if you wanted to use these in your courses and embed them alongside the video, that is an option. We keep the videos short and concise to make sure that they don't take up too much of your lesson time, and also so you can set a couple of videos as homework for your students. Now, we offer additional reading material underneath each of the videos, and this includes any further concepts, as well as source material and suggestions for further reading for those students who would like to learn more. Each of these videos can also easily be embedded into a learning management system, or you can use the share button to share a link to the video on the JoVE website. If you are signed into your JoVE account, the Add to Favorites button will save the video to your account. So if you're browsing the website and you want to save a video for later, this is an easy way to do that. For each of our education videos, we offer a short multiple choice quiz that you can do with your students. You can use these quizzes in 2 different ways. The first one is you can use them on the JoVE website, which means you can turn questions on or off, and you can also add multiple choice questions of your own. You can then invite the students to participate in the quiz by sending them a link via email. And you as the instructor will be able to see the results. You can see which students have taken the quiz and what their scores were. The results of these you can download as a CSV file in case you need to upload the results anywhere else. The second way to use the quizzes is by requesting a quiz file from our customer success team. With this quiz file, you can embed the quiz questions in your courses on a learning management system alongside the video. You can then edit the questions from there in case you want to make any changes. Then from a student perspective, we offer voiceover translations for these videos, in most cases up to 10 different languages. So the students can select a language that they're most comfortable with for both the voiceover as well as closed caption translations. The animations illustrate key concepts in a way that make them a lot easier to understand. And after you hit play on the video player, by hovering over the bottom, you can access the closed caption menu. And from here, you can select a different language for closed captions. So these can also be used if you want to learn a new language while watching the videos. Also, students can adapt the speed at which they'd like to watch the video, as we know a lot of our students like to watch the videos at a slightly higher pace. Then the next product is JoVE Lab Manual. And JoVE Lab Manual can be used for teaching introductory biology labs and introductory chemistry labs. For each of the experiments in here, we have 3 videos. A concept video, basically explaining the background of each experiment, an instructor preparation video that can be used by instructors to make sure that the lab is all set up and all the ingredients are gathered before the students come to the lab, and a student protocol video that takes the students through each experiment step by step. This is an example from JoVE Lab Manual Biology. And as you can see, we cover a wide variety of different experiments, both in the fundamentals of science, genetics, cellular processes, ecology, evolution, and also plant biology. We also have a chemistry lab manual, which again covers some pretty basic techniques as well, and also experiments on how to keep proper lab notes. Further on, you will find some more and more complicated chemistry experiments that you can do with a group of students, especially first-year students in your introductory courses. Now, from an instructor perspective for Lab Manual, you can use the concept video as well as the instructor preparation video to make sure that you are totally prepared before your students come to the lab. This is also a great way to have any teaching assistants make sure that they are prepared. Then again, we have the full transcript of the video available. We keep the videos as short and concise as possible so you can easily fit them inside your lectures. And we offer additional reading materials. For the concept video, this is some background information. And for the instructor preparation video, this also includes any learning objectives, as well as a downloadable materials list and a downloadable lab setup guide. For each of these videos, you have the option to embed them into a learning management system or share them with your students via a link. And for the concept video, we again have a short multiple choice quiz. Then from a student perspective, we've added video navigation buttons. These videos tend to be a little bit longer, so we've made it easy for the students to click through to a certain part of the experiment that may be a bit more difficult. So students can rewatch part of the video without having to restart the whole thing. In the student protocol video, they will find all of the details they will need to carry out this experiment safely. So we've used a lot of animations to help clarify any safety aspects, but also help students with any difficult calculations that they might need to perform. For each of these videos, you can also select subtitles in a couple of different languages. And we have a printable procedure steps guide that students can print and bring with them to the laboratory. Then the next education product, or our science education series, are easy to understand video demonstrations of techniques that most students will have to learn. We have 8 different series covering a variety of different topics in basic STEM research. So we have basic and advanced biology, chemistry, clinical skills, engineering, environmental sciences, physics, and psychology. Now let's look at an example from one of our most frequently used collections, or our basic biology collection. In here, we find a couple of sub-collections, for example, lab safety videos, which are not just useful for biologists, but for anyone working in a laboratory. Then we cover general laboratory techniques, which has a lot of information about how to use basic equipment in the lab, such as how to use a micropipetter or a centrifuge, or an introduction to the microscope. In basic methods in cellular and molecular biology, you will find frequently used techniques such as cell culture techniques, Western blotting, and gel electrophoresis. And then we have a couple more series on different model organisms and how to work with them in the laboratory. These videos are really great if your students want to be prepared before they come to the lab, especially after the year that we've had. A lot of students are a little bit nervous about going back into the lab. And by having seen the whole procedure from start to finish, the students feel a lot more comfortable getting themselves started, which means you as the instructor will have more time to answer any in-depth questions. Then another highlight from our science education series is our clinical skills series. In here, we have a couple of different collections on physical examinations, which is really great for students who first have to start working with patients. We also have an emergency medicine and critical care collection, a nursing skills collection, and a special coronavirus procedures collection. Now, on these video pages, there's a couple of helpful features. These videos are usually between 8 and 15 minutes long, so we've divided them up into chapters to make it easy to click through a specific part of the video. Also, these videos come with short multiple choice quizzes and the option to embed the video. These videos also have a dedicated protocol underneath each of the videos that you can easily print and bring with you to the laboratory. And for some of our videos, we now offer interactive mode. If you want to try out interactive mode, head over to our General Chemistry and Organic Chemistry 1 videos. Interactive mode has taken the quiz questions and overlaid them on top of the video. So the video will pause at certain moments and ask the student a question. If they get it right, they get a thumbs up and can continue watching the video. If they get it wrong, it will give them a hint and they can select a different answer. Interactive mode videos can also be embedded into your courses on your learning management system. Then how do these videos actually contribute to student learning and STEM understanding? And this is an example from a case study that was performed at Clemson and DeSales universities in the United States. And at these 2 universities, we had groups of undergraduate students perform 2 different biology lab experiments. And one group of students got the traditional text handouts, which was their traditional way of preparing for the lab. And the other group of students were asked to watch a JoVE video before coming to the lab. Then both students were given a pre-lab test and a post-lab test. And in between, they actually carried out the experiments. We found that the students performed up to 2 times better if they had access to the JoVE videos. And also they scored 100% higher on the pre-lab test. And even when both groups of students had taken the lab, they still performed 76% higher on the post-lab test. We even found that even if the students don't get to watch the entire video or didn't have the patience to watch the whole video, even as little as 5 minutes of video watching already had a significant impact. We also asked the students what they thought of the videos, whether they thought they were useful or contributed to a positive outcome. We found that the vast majority of students found the videos incredibly useful. They had more confidence when they went into the lab, and they understood better what the experiment was about and also the concepts behind the experiment. If you're interested in having a look at these case studies, both the one that I mentioned just now and the one that Steve showed you earlier, these are all published case studies, and we'd be more than happy to provide you with a copy of these. Now, I also quickly want to highlight JoVE Journal. So JoVE Journal was originally aimed at scientists who are looking for new protocols to add to their repertoire. So JoVE Journal publishes method articles from authors all around the world, and it's indexed in a wide variety of databases, such as PubMed, Web of Science, and Scopus. We publish in 13 different topics, and these videos come with an interview with the original author and a detailed protocol demonstration. We also offer closed captions on these videos, speed regulation, video navigation, so you can easily rewatch the most difficult part of the experiment as many times as you like, and a dedicated article page where you can find the full text of the article. Also, these videos can be embedded in your learning management system, and they can easily be used for teaching. These videos are also really great for further clarifying concepts and experiments, for instance, those discussed at journal clubs. Now, these videos have also been used for teaching, and this is just one example of that. In this case, the students were trying to learn a surgical technique, which was catheter implantation. And a lot of the time, the students fail to do this correctly the first time, which makes the students very nervous and is also very uncomfortable for patients. And it's kind of an expensive technique to learn. So these two doctors decided to publish a JoVE article that demonstrates this technique and then use this article for teaching their students. And they found that by using the video article, they had their success rate for catheter implantation increased from 40% success on the first try to 90%. It also meant that the number of first tries reduced from 8 to 1. And this saved them a lot of money, but it also made their students much more confident. Now, if you're interested in publishing a JoVE article of your own, you might be a little bit nervous about the whole video part of it. So I'd like to walk you quickly through the publication process. So the first step is you submit your written version of your article. So this is a written text manuscript that includes a step-by-step protocol and a set of representative results. Then your article goes to peer review. And after it's been approved by the peer reviewers, we have a team of in-house script writers that turn your manuscript into a filming script. Then the next step is you get contacted by one of our videographers, and they will come and film at your lab for 1 day. We then edit the footage, and we also add a professional voiceover for clarity. And then after you approve both the video and the article, they will be published together on the JoVE Journal website. Then we also have a dedicated website on jove.com for faculty to provide you with all the help that you might need. So our Faculty Resources Center can be accessed from anywhere on the JoVE website. And here you find a lot of information. The first thing is playlists that are mapped to a variety of different courses worldwide. So if you're curious to see what other people are using in terms of videos for their biology courses, lab courses, psychology courses, and a whole lot more, you can have a look at our already pre-mapped video playlists. From here, you can also contact our customer success team if you're interested in having a playlist for your own courses. Also on the Faculty Resources Center, you will find a lot of information on integrating JoVE videos into online courses and learning management systems. Here we have step-by-step guides of how to integrate video content, as well as tutorial videos that show you exactly where to click. Our customer success team is also available to help you with any issues or questions that you might have about this. And if you wanted to use the JoVE videos in your online lectures by streaming them via Zoom or Microsoft Teams, there's also guides on how to get the settings just right. We also offer weekly training webinars on these topics on Wednesdays and Thursdays that are free to attend and anyone can register for. Now, creating a JoVE playlist of your own is super simple. It does require you to set up your own JoVE account. And from here, you can easily access the My Playlist section of your account. Creating a playlist only takes a few minutes, and we also have a short tutorial video that will walk you through the process. If you don't have time to set up your own playlist, you can also request a playlist from our customer success team. Here you can send us a course syllabus in English or a list of your course topics, and our customer success team will turn this into an interactive playlist that you can use with your students. Also, from our Faculty Resources Center, you can browse the available syllabus mapped playlists on our website. So if you're looking for something specific for your research lab or for your lab courses, have a look at the already existing training programs that we have on there. Now, this is an example of such playlists. So these are the playlists for clinical medicine. So as you can see, there's a couple of different topics already available. If your topic of interest isn't in here yet, feel free to contact our customer success team for your own playlist. So this brings me to the free syllabus and training program mapping. If you are designing a course and you're curious to see what topics JoVE has that will be helpful for your course, don't hesitate to reach out to us and send us a copy of your course syllabus, and we can create a playlist that is useful for you specifically. So to summarize this quickly, all of our content can easily be used in both lectures in class as well as online lectures. And we do have a lot of help available to make you the best use of each of these videos. We have free weekly JoVE training sessions that run every week on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and a free syllabus mapping service available if you don't have the time to find all the content on JoVE yourselves. We also have a dedicated customer support team that can help you with embedding videos and quizzes, and also give you more information about relevant content for you. I'd like to thank you all for listening, and I'll give the word back to the rest of our panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Maaike, for giving us such detailed information about the JoVE and how to use the product, where a student can go and see the preparatory videos just before going to the labs and everything. It will definitely help the student as well as for the faculty members as well, how they can use this for their classroom teaching and all that stuff. And yes, the publication process. In India as well, there are few people who are asking how to publish with JoVE. As in the JoVE site, it is mentioned that they have their internal recording team. So because of this pandemic, how the exact process is going to happen. So yeah, thank you so much for guiding this us. So moving ahead, I would just like to inform you all that Dr. Shantanu Ganguly won't be able to join us back, as he is stuck with some of the audit with Ministry of Health.
Shripana.
Yeah.
Dr. Ganguly could make it. He's there now. He has come back.
Okay.
I am just gasping. I just rushed from the important meeting. I could make it right now. So can I get some time to speak?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Sure, sir.
Definitely.
Okay, fair enough. I think Professor Uma Kanjilal must have already mesmerized the entire session. So I don't need to say many things, but there are a couple of things I want to mention here. Can you open my PPT?
Yeah, so we are very happy that you are back with us.
Sir, can you give us a minute so that Shripana can actually introduce you? Everybody knows you, but formally, can you give us some time to introduce yourself?
So Dr. Shantanu Ganguly is back with us. He's Chief Librarian of AIMS Medical Sciences, New Delhi. He has served some of the leading organizations of this country in responsible position. To name a few are Universities of Delhi, Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow, National Productivity Council, and Voluntary Health Association of India, IILM, and TERI. His area of expertise are as follows: project management, knowledge management, storytelling with Dave, and the infopreneurship. So now I welcome Dr. Ganguly sir for his presentation. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us back.
Thank you, Shripana, for the presentation. Okay. Just give me, I'm into two rooms, just a moment. Sharing band karni padegi nahi to. I think you have to give me rights to share my PPT.
Sir, your screen is already shared. I think you just need to open the PPT.
Yes, sir, the screen is visible.
Okay. So let me try. Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir,
Fine.
it's visible. Yes, sir.
Can you see my screen now? Can
Yes,
you
sir,
see
we
my
can see
screen?
your. Yes, sir, we can see your screen.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. I'm sorry because there was just some emergency, so I could not make it. So basically, my session is going to be on education 4.0, where for measuring the learner's engagement, that is the area which basically I'm going to take right now. So basically, the education models must adapt to, individual writings, the skills and all. I think many of these things have already been discussed by Uma and by the other speakers also. But I think when I am basically, looking into, I am going for furthermore on different, talking to several people, and I am meeting a lot of students and others. What I'm finding is that virtual learning environment is a most promising environment in today's current context. And this is basically going to be the thing in today's context. Actually, there are a lot of people are basically working on this. So, when very recently I was, engaged with one of the Dubai-based, school where, a lot of, advanced level of screening and a lot of advanced teaching methodology they were using, and a lot of, pedagogy they have been using. And one of the main mantra of it is to make, connect, think, and then play. So you have to come up with something very creative. Then only you would be able to, get into those nitty-gritties and all. In fact, sometime back, I had a lot of discussion with some of the, the industry experts, and I can't name them right now, but some of the very top industry experts. And what they are telling us that currently there is a shortage between this particular connectivity, what we are looking at, the academia, the business, and the learners. So this is a very, very important area we need to focus at. And, like, for example, somebody is saying the person who is working in the industry for such a long time, and that particular person may not be so much equipped on latest technology. So how we can do a hand holding with him, how we can, bring in some of the very interesting soft skills that he generates the interest, and he starts taking a lot of courses, and then he gets, get himself amalgamated among the different types of the new technologies which have been implemented in the industry. It is not a question that you have to throw them out, but you have to take them with you as and when the industry is growing with the new technologies. So that's a very, very important demanding area. The fourth industrial revolution, which was done, it was a very interesting book came out by Klaus. And that has given me a complete overview. When I'm talking about today on education 4.0, one of the important components which was discussed and debated at several forums, and there was, I find that there is a very interesting correlation exists between the industry 4.0 and the information 4.0 today. And what is that synergy? The synergy is when we talk about industry 1.0, it was a one format, one owner, one delivery, one publisher. But in current context, you just look at it, it's completely a different ballgame. You have many formats, you have many owners, you have many deliveries, and you have many publishers. So the entire industry 4.0 is talking about more and more interactivity, more and more, the content collaboration, content co-creation. Those are the major areas where people are putting a lot of stress in today's context. Now, what is education 4.0? I'm sure Uma must have discussed a very important thing. But what is the most important thing which is coming up in today's context is, with this particular, the smart technologies which are already there, how we are addressing the curriculum, how we are changing and bringing a change in the learning pattern. That's a very important. I'll show you some of the very interesting case studies also. So there was a Institute for the Future. They came up and they have shown in 2020, and some of these things have already taken up in the market. Like, for example, people are talking about a lot of sense making, non-adaptive thinking, social intelligence, computational thinking, cognitive load management, cross-cultural competency. These are some of the very, very vital areas where people are talking about today. If I start looking at industry 1.0 in comparison to education 1.0, it used to be only a one track, where the teacher is at the leadership role and he is transmitting his knowledge to his different children, and that automatically his knowledge is getting transferred to the next generations and all. So whatever he has studied, whether it is good, bad, I don't know, or whatever the culture is automatically getting transmitted to that. Then came a radical change, and that particular radical change is when I look at the education 4.0 today. It is exam based. The result is the examination, memorization of knowledge, and underestimated the student centric approach. We call it, but do not apply it. There is no money for buying and applying uncoordinated technology correlation with the curriculum. This was one of the very big beginning of the industry 2.0 and the education 2.0. Now, if I go to the next level, the industry 3.0 versus education 3.0, it is more coming up towards in the 20th century as a student-centric approach. There are a lot of instances where the flipped classroom methods are coming up, where a more dialogue technology is everywhere. The student is self-learning and everywhere. The classical style, the classroom no longer exists, and the lessons plans are now called as learning plans. And these are the major crux of the education 3.0 at that time. Where when you look at the education 4.0, which is the current demand, and the Internet of Things, people are talking about the education 4.0 and the industry 4.0 as IoT. But when you talk about the education 4.0, and taking an example which I've shown earlier, it's a co-creation, bringing in innovations, interactive practical exercises, face-to-face. Learning is done at home or outside the school. Development of personalized teaching, learning. Learning plans are now called as a creativity plans. So there is nothing called as learning plans, which was in 3.0. Now it has taken a new birth as a creativity plan. In fact, I would like to mention here, I was going through one of the important case study by University of Yale, where they have started a very interesting course called CAT, Critical Analysis Thinking. This is the major area. And there, what they are doing, they are bringing the industry people on board, and those industry people giving them the real applicable problems to the students to resolve them. And that has made them a real, a kind of a real incumbent to who can really, face the current situations in the market. So that's a very, very interesting area they have looked in. There are 8 critical characteristics in the learning content and experiences today. And this I have taken from the World Economic Forum of 2020, where they have a complete session, was discussed and debated on these areas, that how to bring in the global citizenship skills, include content that focuses on building awareness, wider world, sustainability, and playing an active role in the global community. Innovation and creativity. There was a lot of debate on these areas, and problem solving, analytical thinking, creativity, and the system analysis. These are some of the very important areas where given the thing. Technology skills, more emphasis was on digital skills. Interpersonal skills, like for example, the emotional intelligence, empathy, negotiation, leadership, social awareness. These are some of the very, very vital areas. Personalized and self-paced learning. Moving from a system where learning is standardized to one based on the diverse individual needs of each learner and flexible enough to enable each learner to progress at their own pace. So that's a very, very important area where people looked into. Accessible and inclusive learning. Like, for example, the learning is not confined to those with access to school buildings, in which everyone has access to learning and is therefore inclusive. So more and more these areas are debated out in World Economic Forum. Problem-based and collaborative learning, which is a peer collaborations, the future of work, and a lot of discussions, debates, and of analytical takes place. So these are some of the practical areas where given a lot of emphasis. And lifelong and student-driven learning, where the existing skills acquires new ones based on their individual needs. So these are some of the very important areas we're looked into. Now, one of the important sections, which is basically for the educators and academics, which are very interesting point outs that came out in there, that most important thing, I'm sure, Uma must have taken this particular part, which is more important towards our learning analytics today. Industry connectivity, what is preached, what is practiced. Institutions' new sustainability model needs to be looked into, where the educational data mining, learning analytics, academic analytics. In fact, there was a very interesting, video by Mr. Bill Gates, where he has used a very different kind of a video cam in one of the schools, and he collected the live data of a teacher who is teaching the students. And after that, it was done a complete analysis of it to make more improvement. So what is today's coming up is, which is need of the hour, is teaching analytics, a new approach where the teaching expertise, visual analytics, and design-based research to support teachers' diagnostic pedagogical ability. And the outcome of the entirety will be engaging the teachers in more meaningful dialogue to improve the quality of teaching. And in fact, in one of the studies I have found that there is something called as a teaching outcome model has been developed to guide the teachers and researchers to engage with data relating to teaching activities. In fact, there are several ways and means to collect that data. By aligning the teaching and the learning methods with the skills in the future. Project-based learning, were given a lot of emphasis on this. One method is like accelerated remote learning, which is the idea that students will learn theoretical knowledge remotely using the digital means while ensuring any practical skills are still learned face to face. A scale-up way of learning has students sit around tables scattered across the room, allowing the teachers to freely walk through the space and approach the students if necessary. So these are some of the latest techniques which have been. Now, most important questions here stands, why do you need a tracking learner engagement model? Now, one of the important is for any learning and development process needs to be measuring and tracking how engaging past content has been done. In fact, I was taking a sessions in one of the consultancy-based company where this kind of an L&D model has been developed. Now, they have a very different, in fact, in many of the industries now, they have an L&D model where different kinds of platforms are implemented. They provide the training, but after the training, they analyze how much it was absorbed and assimilated by the learners. That was an important. What was the engagement model of the participants? That thing has been analyzed very deeply so that new versions, new processes could be taken up in that way. Learning analytics, there is a very interesting platform. I would request everybody to go through it. They have got two versions, free and a paid version also, which is called as a Lambda Analytics. And they have got a platform called Zula. The most interesting part was fascinated me after going through it is time spent on learning. What is the progress, the feedback, and assessment breakdowns. It also relates you with the courses and the content which is presented. It's a very interesting platform where you can experiment out. Time spent in learning. Even you can filter by course and user to reveal an engagement pattern. To build a table comparing time spent learning, most popular, most demanding, and least used content. So this is a complete performance review of an individual when he is delivering his deliverables in a class. So that is the most important thing. Even before you begin a building engagement, like time spent, time on the course and the time on the activity. How, see, you develop a course module. If you have developed that very correctly, you will find that, and in fact, I have done that experimentation in some of my, the PDP programs which I have organized, where I have seen the kind of practical examples or kind of a games I have used, or some kind of, space makeover games I have used, where I have seen the participants from the library information science field only, they are not ready to leave the room even after 6:30, the bell gong, and I am asking them to leave because I have to close down the room because the office is over. They said, no, sir, we have to complete it and we have to come back with something very new. So if you develop that kind of an activity model, people are going to join you. Duration of their interaction is recorded, ending when users leave. I mean, and that's a very interesting, way to work on it. Progress, enrollment status, and completion dates. User, the course, the dates, the grades, and this kind of a report which comes out in the front of an instructor dashboard. It helps the educators to have a complete class engagement model to be developed on those areas. Feedback summary. User feedback data across modules. The big picture in terms of user satisfaction. Here, who are users? Users, your students who are taking the subject from you. How users rate your content, how much they are taking it. So that's a very, very important thing to get into. Then there is a very interesting model they have developed, talked about quiz question pass-fail statistics. In fact, this is one of the components I've seen that they have certain quizzes in the reports and the questions and grades, and how grades change over time helps suggest that quizzes are most engaging. Learning analytics can show you exactly how to tell if your quizzes are passing the grades. And the different kinds of a quiz mechanism they have come up. In fact, I would have shown you some of the examples also there. Engagement visualization. There is an entire visualization platform is available there. And this kind of evidence encourages those responsible to take away the best performing content. And those, and in fact, it brings in the heat maps. Like, for example, you have spent a lot of time on a particular, content, on a delivery model you have spent, automatically the data gets concentrated on that particular area. So the heat maps is created based on that itself. So that's a very, very important area which have been worked into. Engagement dashboard, compiling data sources on KPIs. That this acts as both an insight and a sensitive. Those who are not on the dashboard can learn from those who are and work towards it. So that kind of an engagement dashboard is there. So one of the important components, which I will go through it. There are 7 key elements are contributing to the development of this new pedagogy. And that is what basically called as blended learning. I'm sure, Uma myself talked about it. Successful blended learning and teaching require a focus based on a campus or a face-to-face interaction between students and instructors. Rethinking of teaching and learning practice as well as classroom layouts. Teaching models for both classroom as well as online delivery must be considered recalibrated in new technological capacities. Collaborative approaches to the construction of the knowledge community. Like, for example, you create a kind of enabling the students to construct a knowledge through questioning, discussion, sharing of practices and sources, analysis of resources from multiple sources, and instructor speakers. So a community is developed. In fact, these things are going on. I'm not saying that these are not going, because I see my daughter right now, she is into an online platform. And I find that in your psychology and in sociology subjects, lot of, this kind of knowledge related construction of knowledge community is created by the student teachers. And that makes it much more interactive. And she also enjoys, discussion, deliberations with everybody on those areas. That's a very interesting area they have talked about. Use of multimedia and open educational resources. Like there's a lot of, resources. Like, I'll give you an example. When I taken over as head of this All India Medical Institute library, the first and the foremost thing, I never had a background on healthcare sector, but health was my passionate area because I come from a science background. So immediately what I did, I want to get myself enrolled to some of the small courses like Coursera, Udemy, and there was a big course was running by IIM Koji course. So I was planning, I took an approval from my authority to take an admission on health informatics on those areas because I just started working on those areas. So I found that these small courses have very, very interesting they have been developed. In fact, I took a admission in, LinkedIn course module also, where, short lectures, animations, simulations, virtual labs, they are showing a lot of examples of this on our online platform. In fact, in CII also, they have developed they conducted a program where these kinds of things were discussed in a very detailed way. Increase students' control, choice, and independence. So students have got a lot of, they are very tech savvy and all. So they can collect a digital sample. I'll give you an example. In Office 365, there is a particular platform where, you can catch some of the very live, happenings around you, and then you can create a story out of it. So you can create your own storyboard. And when I conducted this storytelling program, I used to conduct the storytelling program. And, students have, very much was engaged, and they were, spending a lot of time using their smartphones, catching the things and writing enormously on those particular stories and all in their own language. So it was given a lot of strength to them for the creativity on those areas, basically. Anywhere, anytime, and any size learning. So basically, learning on demand. Like I want to have a small certificate on healthcare informatics, I can get it. Mobile learning. Well, I could have, sitting in my in that meeting also, I could have opened my mobile and I can also hear what Uma or the other speakers they have been talking on those areas. So I could have heard that also. So nowadays, technology has gone. One of the important components which I find, which is a part of the learning analytics here, new forms of assessment. Now, this is a very, very important and a debatable area because, let me give an example. My daughter, she, throughout my life, I have been on a science cadre. So I was thinking it's just like other parents. We were thinking that why she can't take some science subject, and we have a different kind of a mindset for that. That my son or a daughter should be a doctor. If he's a doctor, if she's a daughter, he has to be a doctor. If he's a son, then he has to be an engineer, not less than that. But she couldn't do much in her maths and science subjects. So ultimately, she took subjects like sociology, psychology, geography. Some of these areas she has taken. She was very good in English language. I find that she is more comfortable and scoring very high marks in these subjects. So probably the students, and I used to get a lot of remarks from the teachers. So probably the kind of assessment a teacher should have done for her, that kind of feedback it was missing for me. How I can find out what are the strengths of my daughter and what are the weaknesses of my daughter. That thing is need to be, and the course and everything should be remodeled in such a way that I have a strength on these areas and I have a weaknesses on these areas and all. Self-directed and non-formal online learning. I think this is a very COVID period this has taken up. So there is a lot of impact on the teaching and the course design. And these are some of the fundamental questions I came across after going through several literatures on these pedagogical areas. And I think if we have to scale up with the NEP 2020 and we have to scale up in the current scenario, I think we need to find out an answer for these kind of courses. And these kind of courses cannot be done only by the faculty members who are in the teaching, but also who are into practice, who are working in the industry, working in the market. It has to come up from there. Because after all, it has to be a job-oriented one. So that's a very important area. We need to look at it. So impact on the student learning, automatically when the course structure is different, so there should be an impact on the student learning too. And then would be a technological choice. So that's basically an online strategy and things need to be worked. Just giving a quick example of a healthcare analytics where why educators are using blended learning, since I am from a healthcare sector. See, wider goal of learning analytics in healthcare is to produce integrated training courses that reduce the time away from the medical practice, get information to practitioners in more efficient ways, and result in the same or better learner outcomes for a reduced environment. So what is the connection to the blended learning? The core is combining e-learning with traditional instructional components, capturing the best of both worlds. Learners can still have direct content with experts and tutors while at the same time self-directing their learning and drawing on online resources as they practice on it. And in fact, many of this product like JoVE has brought out, HS Talks is there, Ekelen's Anatomy is there, and then Ghibli we are trying out now. So these are some of the products which I find which is very, very interesting and very self-directing for even for the students to go through on the healthcare sector, finding out a particular disease related or a particular surgery related or particular medicine related. These kind of things are coming up in a big way. So blended learning will involve a combination of e-learning activities like LMS, hosted courses, scenario-based training, discussion forums, and the group activities. And the traditional classroom-based modules will have more of group seminars, practicums and labs, one-on-one tutorials and performance reviews, and lectures are obviously there. I'm not, taking it out as a part of it. Some of the examples of the blended learning I will show you. There was a platform developed by iMedX, where the medical transcription and the coding services around the world they have developed. There's an organized company from Atlanta, where their self-built e-learning platform they have developed and came up in a very big way on this particular blended learning areas. Another company which is providing a lot of distance learning, small certified courses, and a lot of which is more on the, it's called MedCerts. They are also using analytics, reporting, and adapting learner pathways on these areas. So there's a two examples so one of the last but the not least, I just want to close down my session on saying that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So this is a quote from the very famous futurist Dr. Alvin Chopra when he wrote the book on future. So thank you very much. So thanks for the time and sorry for the delay.
Thank you so much, Shantanu sir, for your inputs. Even you came in such a rush, but still you have given such a nice presentation. So actually there are a few questions that participants have asked us. This was, what is your opinion on giving equal, if not more, emphasis on pedagogical training of teachers to significantly employ, use, and co-create technology along with the development of these tools, particularly in terms of Indian context?
Well, I think as far as the pedagogy is concerned, I think, can I see the question? Just let me see the question once again.
So in the question and answer section below the chat box, you will be able to see.
Okay.
I think I can give a quick answer because it was addressed to me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I thought actually you left. That's why.
Okay. So I think this is a correct treatment. In fact, so pedagogy and technology has to go hand in hand. So as technology changes, we need to repurpose ourselves and adopt and adapt technology. And in fact, it's not just usage. I think curriculum design, from curriculum design to delivery, everything has to change. So that's how we need to be creative and innovative. So that will be the answer. So
Thank you
emphasis
so much. Yeah, thank you,
most
ma'am. Thank you.
emphasis on the pedagogy rather than on the tools.
Yeah, just adding a cue what Professor Uma said. I think in the current context, the pedagogical research itself is a very important area of research today. And because there is a lot of, I mean, when we create a group of, experts on developing a new kind of a pedagogy, I think we need to have a blend of people there. People from the practitioners who are preaching, and they should come together and then debate out, and then that kind of a course structure should be developed for the for the students.
So I'll take
Okay.
from all of you. And in fact, I have to go to the other meeting. Thanks a lot again for giving me this opportunity to for the keynote address.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Uma.
Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you
us.
so
Yeah.
much, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so almost all of our other questions are being addressed by JoVE team. Maaike and Stephen has already answered most of the other questions. So now almost we have approached to end of our today's session. It's now time for vote of thanks. But I request all of our participants to stay with us because it's not the end. We will be having the quiz after a vote of thanks by Ibrahim from Team JoVE. For vote of thanks, I would like to Ibrahim from JoVE's team. He is a director of sales for Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and India. He has also been working at JoVE for more than 5 years now. He lives in Oxford and works at the JoVE London office. So, Ibrahim, over to you.
Thank you, Sreparna. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for giving me these opportunities to express my thanks. Yes, I work in JoVE London office as a director looking after Middle East, Africa, India. Today, we have hosted one of the biggest education webinars in India. More than 150 people attended, and we had over 500 registrants from all over India and all over different universities. On behalf of JoVE, I would like to thank to our keynote speaker, Pre-Vice Chancellor, Professor Uma Kanjilal, who has just left it. Thanks for sharing the professor shared experience about the 4.0 and beyond with us today. And also just, it was a great presentation, Dr. Shantanu Ganguly, the topic of education 4.0, learning analytics and measuring learner engagement. It was very a great, useful, lots of information in. Our Vice President of Sales, Stephen Altieri, for introducing the hybrid model in the classroom. Thank you, Steve. And Dr. Maaike Pols, her insights about JoVE as a hybrid learning solution and what the JoVE is offering. Kailash Balanis and all the Balani team, including yourself, our moderator, Dr. Sreparna, for your time and support in arranging these webinars, also promoting, and also as a Balani Info being an exclusive partner in India. Lastly, I'd like to thank all the attendees for their time. It is amazing to see so many people are here. We're receiving a lot of questions, a lot of interest, and people want to learn more about hybrid models and what JoVE can bring. Thank you, and have a nice day, everyone. So let's move on. More moderator, Sreparna, it's yours.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim. So I would like to tell all the participants that I am sharing presently the link for the quiz in the chat box. So you all can go through the link. The link will be available for 10-15 minutes. So all the participants can go through the link and they can answer the Google form that we have shared. And those who are looking for e-certificates, JoVE team will be giving the e-certificates in couple of days time to the participants who have attended, and Dharma sir will be taking care of it. So that's all. I guess the link is visible to you all right now for the question.
Not yet.
So I have posted again. I'm posting the link in the chat box section. So the link is there.
No, we still couldn't see it there. You have to see all panelists and attendees. Please select that one.
Just a second, sir. Participant chat. This is I'll just share my screen with the link.
Yes, it has come now.
So is it there?
Yes, it's there now.
Okay, sir. So even in this PPT also the link is mentioned. So you can just copy the link so that you can go to the Google form and you will be able to answer the questions. And on the basis of first come, we will be announcing our first winner from Balani Infotech sites, and JoVE will be announcing their 3 lucky draw winners. So whosoever will be the winners, we will be informing them via email. So the link will be open for 10-15 minutes so that you all can answer. Please go through the link. And thank you to all of our participants who have joined us. Apart from you or busy schedule, you all came and made it a great session for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, JoVE team.
Thank you,
Dr. Ganguly.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Balani sir.
Thank you, sir.
Can I
Thank you, sir.
exit?
Thank you so much for your time, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You may.
Dharmin, can I exit now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can. Thank you
Yes,
so
sir,
much
you
for your
can.
time, sir.
Thank you.
I'm really thankful to you that you were able to make at the last moment, even though I was thinking that, I don't know whether you'll be able to make it or not.
I rushed from the Ramalinga Swami room like anything.
I can see
gave
that,
my
sir.
files, all my files and everything to my deputy. I said, you people go, let me rush down.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. It's really nice to have you here,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.